Hiya! New PTR update with Twitch chat this time. And Assassination's a banger, dude. Assassination's a banger. So I'm gonna go just like in order from the class tree, top to bottom, and then the assassination tree, top to bottom. And it's lit. I'll turn the music down a little. How about that? I'll turn the music down a little. Okay, so top of the class tree, we get the AoE blind. We just get the AoE blind that Outlaw had. That's just on the class tree now. Every rogue spec gets it. Just straight up, it's in an accessible spot. You take blind, you take this, done. Easy. Easy. Finished. Marked for death doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. They deleted it. So if you had concerns about like assassination button bloat, no mark for death. So like even the potential of getting button bloated isn't really there anymore. The only way you would ever see button bloat is like if you run something like this, where you go down the list and like actually try and take every single button, and then also like do this or whatever, and then I don't know, play active exsanguinate. But it's fine, right? It's fine. So I think it's good change. But you know, it is what it is. If you enjoyed Mark for Death, sorry. But, you know, it is what it is. It's gone now. And then the assassination side. The assassination side mostly had, like, some talent swaps positionally. And a little bit of tuning. So, big changes here. I'm just gonna steal a couple of talent points. So, you'll see that I don't have a point, but I can't do this because I messed up, haha. So you'll see that Caustic Spatter and Internal Bleeding, this choice node was over here, and it swapped positions with Improved Garrote. So, kind of moves Improved Garrote out of the center, but you were taking Bloody Mess anyways into Improved Garrote, like regardless of where it was, so this doesn't really matter too much, but it does make Caustic Spatter easier to get, right? More central, all that fun stuff. The bigger change, in my opinion, is Master Assassin and Exsanguinate swapped positions, which means before, you had to go through Caustic in order to get Master Assassin. This would be Caustic, this would be Exsanguinate. So you couldn't take Exsanguinate without taking like Caustic Spatter or Internal Bleeding. And you didn't really want either of them, because if you're going Exsanguinate, you're going more into a bleed build. If you're going Caustic Spatter, you're going into a poison build. So they didn't really synergize that much. But you don't have to now. You can pick one or the other, and it's fine. You can just skip it. So that's a huge, huge change. It basically saves us a point. Chat's gone. No, it's not. It's right here. It just disappears after a couple seconds. You'll be fine. If people talk, it'll show back up. Yeah, good stuff. But then at the bottom, this is where the real this is where Exodia starts to exist. So Dashing Scoundrel went back to 1 point because 2 points was frankly crazy. 2 energy on a crit strike from a poison. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So putting this back down to 1 brings it back in line. But the sacrifice is now that Poison Bomb... Well, I say sacrifice. Is that Poison Bomb's central, front and center now. You basically are going to be taking this all the time. But the real good thing is these connectors now mean that you can just take kind of whatever. Like, if you want to take these 4 capstones, you can do that. So you have AoE in Mythic Plus and the single target connected. If you want more bleeds, well, guess what? You can just go down the other side, drop Arterial, lose Zoldyck, right? So you lose a lot of that Shiv stuff and you lose Zoldyck, but you get Scent of Blood, you get more bleed damage, you get Sudden Demise, which is increased bleed damage. So the trade-off is there. You could even, you know, take a point here and still get Sepsis, still get Bone Spike instead. So there's still trade-offs to make because you want Shrouded. You still lose Arterial, which is very good. You still lose all the bleed stuff over here if you were to go Arterial, right? You have to drop Shrouded, you have to drop Sense of Blood, you have to drop Sudden Demise. There's still a choice to be made, but at the end of the day, you don't have to lose everything in order to go a single target or in order to go AoE. Show full single target. I can show some example builds now that like everything's gone. I think that might help. So for full single target, if you play Passive Exsanguinate, I think that's probably an option. And you would probably want to go something like this. In my head, without this, obviously you go here. This point is variable, so it could go here, it could go here, it could go here, it could go here. So this last point, I'm not really sure what we're gonna do with. In theory, you could also, instead of going this route, you could still take Sepsis here and just forego the Arterial, or you could take Bone Spike and forego the Arterial. So those are kind of the options that you get to play with. If you drop the point here, I'm not really sure what you do. Shadow Dance is still an option. Master Assassin is still very good with Shadow Dance, especially paired with Kingsbane. You can get the 10% damage from Night Stalker onto your Kingsbane. You can get the crit rate onto your Kingsbane. So that's also still an option. Which one of those is best? I don't know. I'm not clairvoyant. But as of right now, this is sort of the idea that we'd be going for in single target. In AoE then, or just in general like Mythic Plus stuff, you can go something like this in raids, and if you want to, like on some AoE situations, you can play both Exsanguinate and Caustic Spatter if you can cleave hard enough with Carnage. But in general, if you're focusing a boss with ads, you can forego the Exsanguinate, just take Spatter, and then go into like Throne Precision for the Fan of Knives spam, or you can go into Venom Rush if you need more Mutilates. So I think that that's a really tangible and strong option for us. We still cleave with Arterial, we still have Carnage to cleave, and you have your full AoE package, right? You still have Kingsbane, you still have Blindside, you still have Dragon Tempered Blades, and all of the stuff all connected. So that's really, really good. The heaviest AoE option for Mythic Plus, for example, would go down this route. And obviously you would take something like this. And instead of Spatter, you can take Exsanguinate. You can drop the improved poisons here for Flying Daggers for even more AoE. You can drop these points, grab Iron Wire. If you're playing Shadow Dance, you can drop Master Assassin. You can get the improved poisons back. You can grab Internal Bleeding. If you want to play around the tier set more, you have Twist the Knife, right? So you have a lot of options there as well for where that point goes. Personally, I think that you'd probably want improved poisons or you'd want Internal Bleeding. So I'd probably play something like this for heavy AoE, but you'd still have Kingsbane, you'd still have Dragon Tempered Blades for single target, right? With Deathmark, this Kingsbane's still going to do a lot of damage. Dragon Tempered Blade's still going to do a lot of damage. Even if you play something like Shadow Dance and you get rid of all of this stuff, and you're going into this stealth bleed situation, you can Shadow Dance and still have your Kingsbane, right? So you could even drop this and go Master Assassin and play around that Shadow Dance burst window for your Kingsbane and your Dragon Tempered Blades. So all of this stuff is still on the table. If you really wanted to go ham and you just say, you know, fuck it, you can do plenty of things. You can't get all of these and Arterial, but you can still do some stuff. You can still do some stuff. You can still go like this way, right? And you can drop Dashing and then get more Cleave, or you can get more Stealth Garrotes here. This probably isn't it, but, you know, the option's on the table for you to do some degenerate stuff like that if you want more AoE. Any questions that you guys want to ask about this? That you think YouTube might have questions about? Multi-dotting bleeds without acro will feel bad? It's been fine. We've been multi-dotting bleeds for 3 expansions without acro. We'll live. What are my thoughts on IC? Yeah, so they changed IC in order to be more lenient, but the fact that it's 2 additional enemies for 10 seconds with no cap means that I can actually just run up. Yeah, so I have IC right now. So I can actually just run up and I can just cleave everything, right? You can see I have 5 seconds left. I can still cleave all of these guys. Like, the cleave here is ridiculous. This is wild, wild stuff. I think that they really, really should change this to be a stacking system. Like, you have 2 Garrotes and 2 Ruptures that you can use within those 10 seconds. That would be fine. But just having it uncapped is insane to me. The amount of Ruptures and Garrotes you can spread is way stronger than what you could spread even in the current patch. So, I don't know about that. How's the single target opener compared to now? So the single target opener would be... I am stuck in combat with something. Single target opener is basically the same. You would still want to get your bleeds up, get your slice and dice up, and then you would Deathmark Kingsbane Shiv, and you would just kind of spam Envenom. Not really, but that's sort of the gameplay, right? I get my dots up, I get my slice and dice up, and then I'm using my cooldowns. Deathmark, Kingsbane, Shiv. If you're playing Shadow Dance, you'd hold it until the later half of Kingsbane in order to get stuff from, like, Master Assassin. But, yeah. It's much easier than it would be with Sepsis right now. Carnage right now is not controlled. There was a blue post that said that they want to add smart targeting, if possible, if they have time for that. But we'll see. I mean, with 10 seconds right now, you actually just died. I mean, this is insane. Even if this doesn't even if this doesn't smart target, it's still really, really strong. So, you know. Old takes on Xang tuning and sudden demise are still valid. Yeah, so the old takes on the Xang and sudden demise value. 4 energy feels great, in my opinion, right? 4 energy feels great. I don't think the active is going to survive. The active, honestly, probably not happening. So, I personally really enjoy how this feels. I think the 25% of damage dealt might be a little bit low. And sudden demise, I'd like to see the 200% go down maybe to like 150, 125, maybe even just 100 flat. But the passive bleed damage increased by 10% is really, really good. So this is still valid as a capstone, but it's more because of the bleed damage right now and not because of the effect. By smart targeting, I mean, like, if you have a bunch of enemies, like, if we go back, like, there's 4 targets in this cluster right here, right? So if I go and I Garrote here, I apply it to those 3, but now if I Garrote again, it doesn't apply it to this guy, right? So smart targeting would mean that it auto-applies to something that doesn't have it in range, right? So right now it doesn't do that, and if I were to stand still and just, you know, cleave off stuff, you can see it applies to everything except this one. Because right now it's based on proximity. Blackjack value with the new AoE blind talent. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, kind of. 30% reduced damage. This also stacks with the 15% from Iron Wire. So technically, if the mob can be disoriented and silenced, you would have like a 15% of 70. 7, 4, 3, 3.5, 10, 40.5% damage reduction. Because it's a multiplier, it's not additive, right? But this would technically mean that you have a 40% damage reduction on the target. So, pretty good. Thoughts about CT positions and the cost of getting it for 2 target. I don't really... CT is strong enough. In 2 targets, Crimson Tempest is like 10% of your damage, easily. So for it to be a 2-point cost is entirely valid. If it were a 1-point cost for like 10-15% of your damage, it'd be insane. Xang feels like it really locks you into Vigor. Yeah, so one of the feedbacks that I gave is that this should be 50% of your maximum energy instead of just a flat 150. I don't know what the plan is for that, but if you don't take Vigor, then it's pretty difficult to play, because this just puts you to, I think it's like 3 something. What's my max energy without the Vigor? 200? Is it 200 flat? Yeah, it's 200 flat. So it could be a little bit rough. And technically now you have a path to where you don't need to take this. I mean, you would, but in theory right now you could get yourself to a point where you can't actually utilize Exsanguinate, which is a little bit weird, but yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that's everything that I have to talk about, and all the questions and stuff. I don't really know what else to say. This is crazy. This is insane. The fact that we have an AoE blind and an AoE silence, and we have all of our AoE talents while also getting Kingsbane, Drag Tempered Blades, all of our single target. Yeah. This makes Assassination super versatile. Yeah, that's actually a good point. So Assassination is good with Power Infusion. It's not great with Power Infusion. It's good with Power Infusion. It's good with Wind Fury. It can utilize all the raid buffs, right? Like Monk debuff works on some stuff. Demon Hunter debuff works because we do a lot of magic damage. So all of the debuffs, all of the buffs in raid are really good. We're good with all the externals. We're a decent target for augmentation evokers. All of our stats are good, right? Like if you look at my stats right now, I'm taking a mix of haste, crit. I still even have 2000 verse, right? But I have mastery, haste, crit. You don't need certain secondaries because they're all kind of good. There's not really a bad secondary. So gearing is really versatile. Our single target, our cleave, our AoE is really versatile. We're good with everything. I don't think there's any situation where you can't play Assassination Rogue anymore. Like, there just isn't. There's no situation where Assassination is bad. Burst AoE is still fine in raids because you have Caustic Spatter cleaving your Kingsbane, so that's not an issue either. Your Kingsbane is gonna crank. But yeah, Spread Cleave sucks, but you're a melee spec, so you kind of shouldn't be able to do Spread Cleave because you're a melee spec. Anyways, that really is it. I don't really have anything else to say. Tuning will obviously tell, but just based on what we have right now, this is looking insane. This is looking insane. So, yeah. That's it. Okay. Bye-bye. Say bye. Chat, say bye to YouTube. Bye-bye. Yeah, and I stream raid testing Thursdays and Fridays. So if you want to see raid testing Thursdays and Fridays, I'll be right here. Okay, bye-bye.